I think first of all, they have to look at a ethics, sort of a watchdog committee, if you will, that needs to watch the police department and needs to look at the complaints that are filed. I know that the complaints are processed through the police department, but I don't know where they go after that. I think it needs to go to the watchdog committee that can report on that and directly to the city council. I think that's how we really can keep an eye on what the police officers are doing and making sure that they do a good job. I know they mean well, but a bad apple can slip through. There's no question about it. So let's not let that happen. Let's make sure that we keep a watch on them and that we work with them and let them know that we appreciate what they do for us and that we are working with them. We will continue to do so, and we will, again, address any concerns that the public may have concerning their conduct. Thank you.
First, we have to say thank you to our policemen and women because they put their lives on the line for us, for our safety. And there's a few rotten apples that give a bad name to the rest of them. One thing to help improve this is by putting cameras on all of them so that as they protect us, there's always evidence of what they're doing. Because then what happens is people start accusing them so they can sue the city and make thousands of dollars from our tax dollars. So we need to be better at hiring them as well, training them. But I'm a strong believer in putting cameras on the police officers so they can protect us better and themselves.
So I'm not a native to Chula Vista. I've lived in cities all over the country. I've been in Chula Vista longer than anywhere else. I've been here 24 years. But Chula Vista is the only city that I've ever lived in that did not have a community police review board. And when I first learned that, I was a little bit surprised. Well, why not? But the answer is because the officers in the city of Chula Vista are so professional and do such a fantastic job. And we do such a job, the police chief does such a great job of hiring officers. When you've got a young man or a young woman, 20-some years old, they know how to use a gun, you give them permission to kill people. You have to make sure that you have mature people who will think before they shoot, and you have to make sure that those are the people you recruit and hire to be police officers. And I'm so proud that the city of Chula Vista has been able to do that.
Me as well, Pat. I think the city of Chula Vista's police department is excellent. In the last 6 months, I've been on 2 12-hour runs with the police department, ride-alongs with the police department, and they were so professional each time. Every time they dealt with someone in the community, I just couldn't believe how professional they were from the very beginning to the very end. I think the camera idea is an excellent idea. I think the screening is a great process. But I think that the city of Chula Vista, our police department, our police chief are doing a very good job of that right now.
I believe that with our police and all our city employees, we should have a strict grievance process in which they are transparent to both within their departments and to the city. Because at the end, they are responsible to us as well. So I think transparency is one thing, a strict grievance policy where they give their grievance within the department and the city, and then offer that same grievance to the city. That is totally transparent. Also, whenever a city employee, whether it be police, fire, or any one of them, makes a grievance within their department, the city council should know about it. And the city should know about it. There should be absolute transparency, and we should be able to act on those things. Thank you.
Well, we certainly do have a fantastic police department, us having one of the top 10 safest cities in the nation with the staffage shortage that we do have. I think that a lot of people are saying a lot of the right things, and it's holding them accountable through all different levels, through ethics training, as well as working with the leadership to make sure that everyone's doing the right thing. We can't discount the people that we're working with, and a lot of them are our neighbors, so we could do it in a way that works with everyone cohesively.
As a law enforcement veteran of nearly 15 years, I can tell you that anyone who's ever worn the badge, nothing is more important to us than integrity and reputation of our department and our colleagues. And when someone falls outside those parameters, it gives everyone a black eye, and it's a horrible and painful thing. I can tell you from my own experience working professionally here in Chula Vista, the Chula Vista Police Department, we are lucky. We have a department that has some of the highest and strictest professional standards, internally and externally with its hiring practices. And the way that you, as a community, in my opinion, make sure that your police department is responsive and transparent is you give them the resources that they need to do their jobs, and you give them the resources to be competitive in the region so that we attract for our community the best and the bravest. Doing more with less is not the correct standard when it comes to public safety, and people's lives are on the other end of 911. So I think that the culture also is important, because we have a culture of openness on the part of our department to outside review. They've done it in the past with children. That's how you do it.
Well, I want to thank the police officers. They do a tremendous job in Chula Vista. And how we get quality, good people is by doing an extensive background check. And I've worked with Glenn Guggens, and I've worked with other officers, and they've explained how they do that process. I'm also in the military. I have a clearance, and every 5 to 7 years we have to re-up our clearance. And I think it would be good to look at doing additional clearances in the future for current officers. It's amazing what good people we have. I think the other thing that we need to make sure about is making sure that we start staffing properly for the future. We have a tremendous amount of officers who are at or becoming at retirement age. And if we start losing them and we start seeing and not having enough staffing, there's always the pitfall of starting to go and decrease your standards just to get people in and get them hired. So make sure we cut things off in the past and make sure we hire properly and staff properly for the future.
My business is alarm systems. I commonly say, if not, you lock them up. We have the clients for law enforcement here in Chula Vista. In fact, just earlier today, I saw a Nixon report how they found an abandoned U-Haul similar to like Oklahoma City. So our first responders responded to that immediately and took care of us. They're on the job. They are exemplary. As far as retirement or forced retirement, there is bilateral transfers, and concentrating officers about $125,000 a year for a police academy at Southwest Community College. And then again, that would come down to increased staffing, increased funding to maintain public safety. But I do believe the police themselves quite adequately, and my understanding is not upon city council and mayor to interfere with the so-called internal affairs units of our police department. Thank you.
My thoughts are quite simply, I talked with a couple of police officers. We're understaffed. I know we're in the top 10 of cities our size for police, for safety and security, and that's admirable considering that I believe we're woefully understaffed. So that notwithstanding, again, applying my Navy background, the one thing that eradicates most of that stuff is just training. So the more training we can throw at it, whether it's ethics training or morality training or just gun safety training, crisis intervention, things like that, it will make for a better police force. Not that it's not good, but it will improve and minimize the likelihood of indiscretions in the future. And regarding some of the security clearances, sometimes people just do bad things, and you're not going to pick it up on a security clearance, so that's not the end all. Training will help though. Thank you.
Well, I'm incredibly proud and very grateful to the men and women that we have on our Chula Vista Police Department. In the 8 years that I was on Growth Management Oversight Commission, I had a lot of opportunity to work with the former police chief and the current police chief, David Bejarano. I can tell you we have some of the highest standards for interviewing and employing our officers. We spend a lot of money to make sure that our police officers are well trained and we get the best of the best. It's very important that we recognize that we take care of our first responders, the firefighters, and the police department. We need to retain those employees, and I think when you take into consideration that we are the second largest city in the county, and you look at the crime statistics, our proximity to an international border, we're doing pretty darn good, and I'm grateful.
First of all, when I saw that place over there, I took my family, thinking it was still Anthony's. And it's like, seriously? This is, but when people come to Chula Vista, this is the first thing they see. And there's other places, I don't go to those type of places, but for the people that do enjoy that, I think it should be in a more discreet location. I don't do drugs, and I'm against those places being close to our schools. But that's something where what happened with the permitting process, those places need to be away from the public eye. And it's not Anthony's. What can I say?
It's definitely not Anthony's, and it's something that doesn't belong in Chula Vista. The reason it's there is because the person that owns it, when they applied for it with the city, they call themselves a cabaret. And they got in under that, and the problem is, once they're in, there are all kinds of legal hoops you have to go through to get them out. We're going through those legal hoops. We're taking them to court. They're gonna be gone. And there's just no way, those kind of businesses. And marijuana businesses are illegal in the city of Chula Vista. But once somebody is in, there are certain legal eviction steps you have to go through to get them out. And I know the city attorney and the police chief is working on that. We're doing our best to get them all done.
Yeah, with all of you, I've also been tracking that. I think that with the city's continued efforts, legal process, I think that eye candy will disappear. And with regards to the marijuana, in the public eye, they're building a bigger and bigger, greater influence, and that, like Colorado, that eventually comes down. California is one of those states that often looks at the latest curve of things changing, and we may be facing that even more here in California. I'm not supporting it, but I do think that we've got to really, really stay on top of it here in Chula Vista to keep those the cartel drug, whatever you want to call it, out of our city.
All right, with regard to the eye candy cabaret, I'm not entirely sure that maybe the city, when they did their permits, they should have done their homework and found out what this place was really applying for. Because when I think cabaret, I think of dancing, I think of women. So I think at some point we dropped the ball, and it's going to cost us a lot of money to get them out. As for the marijuana dispensaries, there's two places that I don't think government belongs. And one is my bedroom, and the other place I don't believe. That's my husband back there. He doesn't want to go into that. And another place I don't believe the government should be is in my medicine cabinet.
It certainly brought up the question that we need to look at our existing rules and laws and our permitting and also the process, since it's so cumbersome anyway. We just need to make sure that we're consistent with our community's values and the way we see things and what we want. If it's not what we want, we have to make sure that the businesses that are coming in are reflecting what we want. And frankly, when it comes down to it, we need to be holding our elected officials accountable and letting them know what we do want and what we don't want, and to make sure that those rules reflect that.
Yeah, I was a little shocked when I realized it wasn't Anthony's. And frankly, it's unconscionable to me that that ever got permitted. Particularly when a business has come in with an application and it's on the bayfront or near the bayfront. That's so critical to our community's future, economic and our image. And somebody checks a box or writes cabaret on a form, and we don't have a process where we do a little digger deeping. Someone, digs a little deeper. Goes out and finds out what exactly is this cabaret and what does that mean, not just say, oh, it's on the code and sign it on. So it is going to cost taxpayers a lot of money, because the person who owns the business does this all over the state of California. They have it down to a science, and their lawyers make a lot of money doing it. And they force people like you and me to dig deep in our pockets to sue them in court in order to get rid of them. And that's what's going to take place. And I'm glad that the city is working on getting rid of them. On the marijuana dispensaries, I think two things. I think the city has to obey the law of the state of California in general and find a way to operate within that law. And second of all, while we have an ordinance on the books that prohibits these businesses in the city limits, again, I don't know how they got there. If we have an ordinance like that, I don't know what's going on with the enforcement, but I think we need to enforce our laws.
Thank you very much. I can't say my Anthony's joke anymore. I think it's been hit twice. It was a great restaurant, but it is shameful that it has become a strip club. And it is essentially right across the street from the Nature Center and part of our proposed bayfront. And the bayfront is something that will be tremendous and help out our entire community. You want to talk jobs, you want to bring in new revenue, you want to change the image, it will help. It will be a tsunami of property values all the way on the west side. Because even if you're in just walking or driving distance to the bayfront, it will be tremendous. And I think it is something that is just unacceptable to have a process that let that through. I was part of approving the general plan update. It's a plan update every 20 years. And we actually looked at getting rid of all strip clubs, but the attorney at that time said, no, you have to at least have one place. It was down on Main. It is not on the bayfront.
Thank you. Actually, in 2012, I was in a march from I-Candy City Hall. My sign read, "More art, less sleeves." I was read, I believe, on Channel 10, Channel 8 News. That time, let's say, they did say one thing, here's another. And unfortunately, it does come down to the legal matter, and we all know that the wheels of justice turn slow. Now, on this medical marijuana shop, I highlight this. When I get my hair cut, 1067 Broadway, I was being apprised the collective opened up, it popped out of nowhere, 213. So I got the word up to Deputy Mayor Aguilar, City Attorney Glenn Guggens, Assistant City Manager Gary Halpert. I followed just today, I was told I have 14-day eviction notice. So thank you, Deputy Mayor Aguilar, for helping me go get by there.
Eye candy. I don't know what to say. I think most of it's already been said. It doesn't belong. It wasn't supposed to be there. It's there now. I believe we're going to have to pay a lot to have it gone. I think the key is maybe move it somewhere else, honestly. Offer the business, we want business. This is business. There's money. So offer him an alternative location, maybe not right off the first exit into Chula Vista. So it's not the first thing. With regards to medical marijuana things, people have needs sometimes, and so they got to take care of those things. I personally am not a drug user. I don't smoke, never put anything in my mouth other than a French horn mouthpiece over the years. But I got to say, if they're here, we didn't mean for them to be here, so tax the heck out of them until they're gone. Thanks.
Regarding eye candy, I can tell you, as the former chairman of the planning commission, that cabaret comedy club, they put their permits in, they misrepresented their intent. As was stated before, they're very, very good. Mr. Welty knows exactly what he's doing. He did this in San Bernardino. He almost bankrupted the city. I can tell you, I spoke to the city attorney, I spoke to the city manager. The noose is tightening on eye candy. The sanctions, economically, it will not be a good thing for eye candy to stay where they are and be operating the way they are. And maybe some of you even saw me talking to Channel 10 regarding eye candy. The marijuana dispensaries, marijuana is illegal. We all know it. It's federal law. Marijuana is illegal, and Chula Vista does not allow marijuana dispensaries. They're in the process of being shut down.
As to eye candy, I think everybody has really touched on this subject, but the bottom line is that the Supreme Court has spoken a long time ago about these sorts of issues. There does need to be a district of some sort that a city has to provide, otherwise you open yourself up for lawsuits. We don't want to spend a lot of money on lawsuits, so we need to solve the problem. We should have seen that one coming. The same will be true with marijuana dispensaries. We have to look at the what's coming down the pike, and we have to deal with it and deal with the laws. And address them accordingly. I've worked with Mr. Guggens in trying to draft an ordinance that would comply with the laws of California and solve the problem. Look, it's about location. It's about creating these zones that don't interfere with the other businesses and keep the jobs flowing again.